Good morning and welcome to Coffee and the Word. You ever thought what it would be like if someone could tell you everything you ever did? I mean, just think about it. Think about what that would make you feel like if someone saw right through you, who knew all of your deepest, darkest secrets. Well, that's the topic of today's story. And it comes from John chapter 4. And I want to share some really cool stuff from this text with you. But in John chapter 4, Jesus meets a Samaritan woman at a well. I'm sure some of you have heard this story, but I want to read it to you, and then we want to talk about it a little bit. When a Samaritan woman came to draw water, Jesus said to her, "Will you give me a drink?" His disciples had gone into the town to buy food. The Samaritan woman said to him, "You are a Jew, and I am a Samaritan woman. How can you ask me for a drink?" For Jews do not associate with Samaritans. And so, before we get any further in this text, I want you to realize what the expectation of this Samaritan woman is when she sees Jesus, this Jew, right? He's sitting there waiting to draw water. You have to understand the tension between the Jews and the Samaritans to get the real beauty of this story. Because what we're going to discover about the Samaritan woman is a lot more risque for Jesus when you realize who she is, not just that she's a Samaritan woman. We'll get there in just a minute. So Jesus engages this woman. I want you to understand several things. Number one, Jesus knows she's a Samaritan, obviously. Jesus knows things about her, obviously, which we'll get to in a minute. And Jesus still says to her, "Will you give me something to drink?" And the woman is confused because you should dislike me just because I'm a Samaritan. But Jesus doesn't. So let's keep reading. And so the Samaritan woman, so Jesus answered, "If you knew the gift of God, if you knew the gift of God, and who it is that asks you for a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." The woman said, "You have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. Where can you get this living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us the well and drank from it himself, as did also his sons and livestock?" Now, again, here's another thing, right? The Samaritan woman is like, "Who do you think you are? Like, you're not greater than Jacob. You're talking to me and you shouldn't be. Jews don't associate with Samaritans. And now you're asking for a drink, and then you turn around and say, you have more to offer me than I have to offer you. I have something to draw with. You have nothing." And I'm going to be honest with you. I really believe that many of us, when we come to Jesus, when we interact with Jesus, our expectations are that he really can't do a lot for us, right? That he's not able to deliver us. He's not able to overcome our deepest, darkest problems. And so we're like, you don't even have anything to draw with. Like, really, I don't even know why you're suggesting such. And he's like telling her, look, if you had known who asked you, if you had known who I was. And I find that interesting because I'm not sure, had she known immediately who he was, that she would have asked for this living water. She might have run. Because when we stand in the face of greatness, when we stand in the face of goodness, when we stand in the face of someone who is sent from God, a lot of times we shirk back. We don't dive in. And Jesus is basically saying what you should be doing is asking me to give you what I have to offer. Like, your response should have been, why don't you give me the water? Because if I knew the gift of God, and there's a key phrase there, the gift of God. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But let's keep reading. It says, you don't even have, and the well is deep. Jesus said, everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again, but whoever drinks the water I give them will never thirst. Indeed, the water I give them will become in them a spring of water welling up to eternal life. And the woman does what most of us do, right? We immediately think of our interaction with Jesus as solving a temporal problem. Right? You're gonna solve the fact that I have to walk to this well every day. Like, that sounds great. And the truth is, this woman's got a lot more stuff going on, but she doesn't realize the power of Jesus. And I don't think we do either. I think we have a tendency to go to God, and we go to God through Jesus, and we ask for our daily needs, which is great. We should. Like, we're told to ask. We're told to accept things with thanksgiving. But the truth is, he has so much more to offer that is so much more valuable than our fleshly needs. And so the woman says to him, "Sir, give me this water so that I don't get thirsty again and I won't have to keep coming to draw water." And now's where it gets interesting. Jesus is going to shift the whole story, and he's going to take it off of this physical need or desire, and he's going to put it in a spiritual sense. So he says to her, "Go get your husband. Go call your husband and come back." And she replies, "I have no husband." And he says to her, "You are right when you say you have no husband. The fact is, you have had 5 husbands, and the man you now have is not your husband. What you have said is quite true." I don't know about you, but when someone points out something that I've tried to pretend isn't true, I tend to get a little tense, right? I tend to not want to face the reality. And I think the Samaritan woman's there right now. Like, she said, "Go get your husband." "I don't have a husband." He's like, "You're right. You don't have a husband. You've had 5. You've had 5 husbands, and the man that you're with right now is not your husband." And so listen to what happens. She does what I think a lot of us do when we really start to get to the nuts and bolts of who we are and what we need. Here's what she does. She's like, "Sir, I can see that you are a prophet. Our ancestors worshipped on this mountain, but you Jews claim that the place where we must worship is in Jerusalem." Wait, let's not talk about me. Let's get into a theological discussion. How about that? Let me ask you some questions, because I think you need to answer some questions. I mean, if you are this person who knows everything and you've already revealed things about me, like, let's talk about theology. You know, and I see this all the time when I really start to try and bring people into a relationship with Christ. One of the things they want to really do is they want to focus on things that aren't important, right? And I don't mean to say that where we're supposed to worship. In fact, Jesus answers this question because it's an important question, but he stays on point. Listen to what he says. "Woman," he says, "believe me, the time is coming when you will worship the Father neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. You Samaritans worship what you do not know. We worship what we know, for salvation is from the Jews. Yet a time is coming and has now come when the true worshiper will worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for they are the kind of worshipers the Father seeks. God is spirit, and his worshipers must worship in spirit and truth." The woman says, "I know Messiah, called Christ, is coming. When he comes, he will explain everything to us." And then Jesus declared, "I, the one speaking to you, I am he." And so now Jesus has opened up her eyes, and now she sees that the very person she's talking to is the one that everybody's been waiting for. I think that's true of a lot of us, right? We don't realize we're actually talking to the one who can resolve our inner conflict. We're talking to the one who knew everything we ever did and yet loves us anyway. You know, one of the things that you need to realize as you go and navigate this life is that the Jesus who died on the cross didn't die believing in good people, right? He died loving people. And when he died, he knew your flaws. He knew your missteps. He knew how many times you had failed. He knows everything you ever did. And yet the scripture tells us in Romans that though we've all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, that God has offered his Son so that you and I can approach his throne and find forgiveness and mercy and grace. But more than that, we find power. And I want you to listen to what this woman does next. When she leaves him, she recognizes that she stood in the presence of greatness. And so she went back to her hometown and she told people, "Come and see the man who told me everything I ever did." What she's really saying is, come see someone who knew me, who knew everything about me. And I realized he loved me anyway. He loved me anyway. I hope and I pray that every one of you will realize that Jesus is knocking on the door of your heart. Open the door. He wants to bring you rest. He wants to bring you peace. Peace with God and peace within yourself. The Samaritan woman was so focused on not coming to draw water from a well so their mouth wouldn't be thirsty anymore. She didn't realize what he was offering was to cleanse and satisfy her spirit. And he says, I'll give you living water. That living water that he's promising there is the Spirit of God that dwells in us. Not a spirit of timidity or of fear, but of power, love, and self-control. I want that. I know you want that. Here's the beautiful thing about it. Even when he knows everything you've done, that offer is for you. That's my Monday morning encouragement to you. Come unto me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Open the door. He accepts you, even you. I hope this helps. I hope this has been an encouragement today. I hope today you'll cry out to him and you'll surrender your life to him and allow him to transform you. And then I hope you'll go and tell people about this Jesus who knew everything you ever did and loved you anyway. God bless you. This has been another edition of Coffee and the Word.